Alex, male one. Have you ever found yourself standing in a bathroom, an unease creeping in as the lights flicker? For me, it was more than just a fleeting feeling. It was a memory etched in terror. My first encounter with Hanakosan, Japan's infamous bathroom ghost, haunts me like a shadow I can't escape. It was an ordinary day at school, yet something inexplicable drew me to the bathroom, like a moth to a flame. The sterile scent of disinfectant mingled with a musty odor reminiscent of forgotten damp paper. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting an eerie glow on the white tiles. That's when the whispered tales from my classmates came rushing back. They spoke of a ghostly girl hiding behind stall doors, waiting for her next target. The bathroom felt stifling, almost sentient, with the tension in the air. I hesitated, expecting at any moment to see the ghostly figure from the stories, her face obscured by long black hair, her childlike voice a trap for the curious. A chill shot down my spine as I pushed open the heavy door, the cold atmosphere washing over me. Inside, my heart pounded. Silence reigned, broken only by the faint drip of water from a leaky faucet. I tried to convince myself it was merely a bathroom, part of my everyday routine. But that illusion shattered when something flickered at the corner of my vision. A shadow near the last stall froze, dread coiling in my stomach. Was it my imagination, or was Hanakosan watching me? The fear of the unknown gripped me tightly. I recalled the warnings. If you hear her call your name, don't respond. Yet curiosity tugged at me. I took a tentative step closer, my breath quickening. "Hanako-san," I whispered, my voice trembling. The oppressive silence swallowed my words whole. Suddenly, I felt a cold draft brush my cheek. Every instinct screamed at me to flee. Just as I turned to leave, I saw it. The stall door creaking open slowly, agonizingly. Panic ignited in my chest. I bolted, my footsteps echoing off the tiles. I didn't stop until I was outside, gulping in breaths, the horror of those whispered tales now a stark reality. The bathroom, once mundane, had become a haunting ground, an unsolved mystery lurking in every corner. To this day, Hanako-san's memory claws at my mind, a constant reminder that even the safest places can harbor nightmarish secrets just waiting to be uncovered. It all started when I was studying abroad in Japan. One eerie, rainy day, I found myself alone in the school's old building. The air felt heavy, almost electric, as if a storm was brewing not just outside, but within the very walls surrounding me. I had heard unsettling whispers drifting through the halls, rumors about Hanakosan, the bathroom ghost who was said to haunt the third stall of the girls' bathroom. With every step my heart raced, the wooden floors creaking beneath me like tortured bones. I could almost feel their gaze warning me to turn back. But the morbid curiosity of a foreigner was stronger than the instinct to flee. I was drawn toward that bathroom, yearning to experience for myself the urban legend that haunted so many. As I pushed open the door, the hinges groaned in protest, revealing a dimly lit space that smelled of mildew and neglect. It felt so wrong, so oppressive. My ears tingled with the whisper of secrets kept captive in shadows. The stalls loomed before me like sentinels, each one a potential portal to the unknown. I approached the third stall, my breath hitching in my throat. The thick silence around me was suffocating. It felt like the hushed tension before a storm. I could almost hear the whispers grow louder, a faint, eerie giggle echoing deep inside, like a siren calling me closer. The legend warned that if you called out to Hanako-san, she might just answer. Each fiber of my being screamed at me to stop, but the allure of the unknown was too powerful. I opened my mouth to speak, my voice trembling with fear and anticipation. Little did I know, I was about to breach a boundary that should have remained untouched. That day, the atmosphere was thick with unease. The lights flickered as if struggling to stay alive. The air was heavy, almost suffocating. With every step toward the bathroom, my heart pounded louder, feeling like a drumbeat heralding something sinister. I remembered those whispers from the hallway, chilling tales of Hanakosan, the bathroom ghost that supposedly lurked behind the stalls. As I approached, the distant sound of water dripping echoed through the corridor, an odd rhythm that mirrored my own escalating anxiety. The bathroom door creaked open, and I stepped inside, the stark fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. The smell of dampness and something else I couldn't quite place clung to the air, making my skin crawl. I hesitated, instinctively glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone standing there watching. The stalls were all closed, their metal doors cold and unyielding. I fought the urge to flee, but curiosity anchored me to the spot. I whispered the name, Hanakosan, feeling both foolish and terrified. It was as if uttering her name had stirred the very atmosphere around me. The air shifted, and I swore I could feel a presence, a weight pressing down, like fingers brushing against the back of my neck. Sound, a soft giggle, like a child playing hide and seek, floated through the space. I froze, heart racing. It came from the last stall. I took a tentative step forward, each footfall echoing around me, relentless. The tiny flickering lights cast long, distorted shadows on the tiled walls, enhancing the claustrophobic tension. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice sounding feeble against the oppressive silence. No answer, just the incessant dripping and the overpowering feeling that I was not alone. A cold chill enveloped me, and I turned to leave, but just then I caught a glimpse, a flash of white, a figure standing in the corner of my vision. My breath hitched as dread pooled in my stomach. In that moment, I understood. Some legends are woven into our reality, waiting patiently for a chance to be seen. As I opened the bathroom door, a chilling breeze enveloped me. It was like stepping into a different world, one steeped in whispers and shadows. The fluorescent lights flickered momentarily, casting eerie reflections against the grimy tiles. The mirrors fogged up instantly, my reflection barely visible, but I could have sworn I saw something shift behind me. Shaking off the unease, I edged toward the third stall, the infamous haunt of Hanakosan. The bathroom ghost whispered about in hushed tones among students. Each step felt heavier than the last, my heart thudding in my chest like a warning drum. A cold sweat trickled down my neck, and I could feel the oppressive silence weighing down on me, thick as fog. I stopped in front of the stall, the metal peeling and old, rust clinging like memories you cannot shake. Hesitating, I fought the urge to run. Curiosity, that nagging little voice in the back of my mind, pushed me to take the plunge. I knocked on the stall door 3 times, each sound echoing into the stillness. "Hanakosan, are you there?" The air seemed to drop a few degrees, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath. The seconds stretched like darkened shadows, the silence around me thickening with anticipation. Then, a soft, breathy whisper floated through the cracks of the stall, a sound too low to understand, yet piercing enough to fill me with dread. Felt my skin crawl, the hairs on my arms standing at attention. Whatever folklore my friends had filled my head with suddenly became too real for comfort. The tension hung palpably in the air, wrapping around me like a shroud. "Hanakosan," I said again, my voice trembling as I stepped closer, each heartbeat echoing louder in my ears. The possibility of her presence loomed before me, and I could not shake the fear that something beyond my comprehension was waiting on the other side. In that moment, everything shifted. The ghostly girl I had only heard about in hushed whispers transformed from a chilling story into a terrifying reality. The air turned icy, enveloping me like a thick fog, while the fluorescent lights flickered above, casting eerie shadows on the tiled walls. I felt the hairs on my arms stand on end, a primal instinct screaming at me to run, but my feet felt like they were anchored in place. Suddenly the stall door creaked open, just a slow, agonizing creak that seemed to echo through the suffocating silence, each sound vibrating in my bones. Glancing at my reflection, I noticed something wasn't right. My face appeared warped, twisted into a mask of terror that didn't match the calm surrounding me. And then, there she was. Hanakosan. She floated in the dim light, a wisp of pale despair, her hair tangled and wild. Those haunting eyes held a depth of sorrow that pinned me where I stood. I could feel her presence, cold and heavy, as if she were siphoning warmth directly from my skin. Somehow, I had perceived this figure as a mere urban legend, a simple warning to kids wandering into the forbidden parts of the school. But now, she was all too real, standing just a breath away. I could feel her cold breath brush against my neck, chilling me to the bone. And in that moment, every warning I had ever heard washed over me like a torrent. Wanted to scream, to flee, but my body refused to listen. I was caught in her stare, a snapshot of pure horror, a living cliché of every terrifying story I had ever dismissed. Was she searching for something? Or was I merely an unwelcome intruder in her eternal domain? All I knew was that this encounter pushed me past the threshold of fear into a realm of absolute dread. I was face to face with a ghost, Hanakosan, and everything in me screamed that I should never have knocked. Panic surged through me like a tidal wave, drowning out all rational thought. I tried to scream, but the sound caught in my throat, leaving me paralyzed. My feet felt like they were glued to the floor, weighed down by an invisible force that held me captive. Hanakosan stood there, her ghostly figure illuminated by the erratic flickering of the overhead lights. Each burst of light revealed her tragic face, eyes hollow and sorrowful, yet burning with an unsettling excitement. "Do you see me?" she whispered, her voice a chilling caress that slithered into my ears. "Do you feel my pain?" The words wrapped around me like cold fingers, tightening with each heartbeat. I remember feeling the air grow thick with despair as she recounted her tragic past. Tales laced with sorrow spilled from her lips, of betrayal, lost childhood dreams, and a desire for vengeance that bound her spirit like chains to this bathroom. My heart raced like a trapped animal, clawing against the confines of my chest. Suddenly the lights flickered violently, casting monstrous shadows across the tiles. I felt that suffocating pressure on my chest, as if unseen hands were wrapping around me, pulling me closer to her ethereal form. Breathing became an arduous task, each inhale feeling heavier than the last as her presence engulfed the small room around me. "Here. I'm always here," she murmured, drawing nearer, her cold touch brushing against my skin. The boundary between our worlds faded. I could feel the bitter chill of her sorrow seep into my bones. The fear of the unknown clawed at my mind, overwhelming me with a sense of dread. I was trapped in this ghostly encounter, desperately wishing for an escape from the haunting memories that threatened to consume me whole. In that moment, instinct took over. I summoned every ounce of strength I had left. My body felt like it was moving through molasses, each step a battle against an unseen force. I reached for the doorknob, my fingers trembling as I fumbled to turn it. Finally, the door swung open, and I stumbled out of the bathroom, gasping for fresh air. The coolness of the hallway hit me like a wave, but it didn't drown out the chilling whispers that continued to echo in my ears. "You shouldn't have looked," they seemed to chant, weaving in and out of my consciousness. I could hardly focus on the world around me. It felt like I had just narrowly escaped from the grip of something truly sinister. My heart raced, each beat a frantic reminder of how close I had been to something unearthly, to being ensnared in Hanakosan's web. The echoes of her laughter seemed to linger, a ghostly reminder of what I had just witnessed. I glanced back toward the bathroom, half expecting to see her figure standing behind the door, her eyes glinting with malice. Instead, there was only silence, save for the occasional creak of the building settling. But I could still feel her presence, dark and ever watchful. In that moment, I knew I wouldn't be able to shake her off so easily. No matter how far I ran, no matter how many corners I turned, the memory of that encounter would haunt me forever. Close enough to remind me of the thin veil that separates our world from the supernatural. You know, after that day, I never went back to that part of the school. I couldn't bring myself to. My friends joked about it, laughing it off like it was just my overactive imagination. But I knew better. I still carried Hanakosan with me, a shadow lurking in the back of my mind, whispering doubts and fears every time I stepped foot in the restroom. Those hallways echoed with laughter, yet each sound sent chills racing down my spine. I remember sitting in class, the teacher's voice a blur, my mind trapped in a whirlpool of haunting memories. What if she was watching, waiting for me to slip back? The trembling fear that twisted in my gut felt all-consuming. I couldn't escape the thought that I had somehow crossed a line, provoking something that shouldn't be provoked. Night. Whenever I shut my eyes, her appearance replayed in my dreams. A pale girl with dark hair clinging to her face, her haunting eyes boring into my soul. I would wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, gasping for breath. Each time I found myself questioning what I had seen. Was it really her? Or just a figment of my wild imagination? I tried to convince myself it was the latter, but deep down, I was terrified of what lurked in that bathroom, ready to take something that belonged to me. The weight of that encounter lingers, an unsettling reminder of the unknown. I have told myself that I am safe now, far removed from that school and the ghost of Hanakosan. But the fear, it never truly goes away. It haunts me like a whisper in an empty room, always just behind the door, waiting for the moment I would slip up and let it in again.
Hi, I'm Aiko. Growing up in Japan, tales of Hanakosan were commonplace. But it wasn't just her. Many school legends were just as spine-chilling. Allow me to share a personal account involving the infamous Teke, a ghostly figure with a tragic backstory that haunted my childhood. It all began one autumn evening during middle school. The air was thick with fog, and the wind howled like a wailing spirit, sending shivers down my spine. We had just finished a long day of classes, and my friends dared me to use the bathroom at the far end of the school, the one rumoured to be a hotspot for supernatural encounters. I desperately clutched my school bag, feeling the weight of their challenge. With each step, the shadowy hallways loomed larger, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I had heard the gruesome story of Teke, a girl who fell onto the train tracks, her body sliced in two. Now she roamed the earth, dragging herself along with her elbows and seeking revenge on those who crossed her path. As I stepped into the bathroom, the flickering fluorescent light made my skin crawl. The stalls were empty, but something felt off, like an icy breath grazing my neck. That's when I heard it, a faint scratching sound echoing against the tiled walls. My stomach dropped. It was the sound of nails scraping on the floor, a sound I had only ever imagined in my darkest nightmares. Glanced into the mirror, half expecting to see Teke herself reflected back at me. Instead, all I saw was my own terrified face, pale under the harsh light. But then, just beyond my reflection, something moved. The shadow slid silently across the doorway, leaving a chill that froze the air around me. "Run!" a voice almost whispered in my mind. My heart raced as I bolted out of the bathroom, the chilling image of Teke haunting my thoughts, not just as a story, but as a terrifying reality that lingered far too closely to home. I never thought my walk home would plunge me into the depths of urban legend horror. One late evening, the sky hung heavy with clouds, the moon obscured, and a foreboding wind howled unnaturally. It was past the old railway station, one of those places you know you shouldn't linger. As I quickened my pace, I felt an unsettling chill crawl up my spine. That's when I saw her, Teke. The sight was enough to freeze my blood. Her upper body was dragging itself along the ground, sleek black hair obscuring her face. Inching closer to me with horrifying speed, a cruel parody of a human form. In that moment, my heart pounded wildly, each beat drumming a warning in my ears. My legs felt weak, heavy with the weight of dread. I should have stood still, but all I could do was run, terror pushing me forward. Behind me, the sound of her nails scraping against the ground echoed like a death knell, each scratch a reminder of her relentless pursuit. Didn't dare look back, fearing what I might see. My breath became shallow, panic clawing at my throat as I raced past shadowed corners, through deserted streets that seemed to twist and warp, mocking my desperate escape. Every instinct screamed for me to go faster, but my legs felt like they were wading through molasses, caught in a nightmare that wouldn't end. Just as the figures in my periphery began to shift, I saw the faint glow of my home's lights. It spurred me on, but as I turned the last corner, something in the air shifted. I could almost feel Teke's presence close behind me, suffocating and relentless, ensuring that this terrifying experience wouldn't just fade into the dark. As I sit and reflect on these chilling tales, especially the ones of Hanakosan and Teke, I realize they extend far beyond mere ghost stories. These narratives weave a rich tapestry of cultural significance, threading through our collective consciousness like a haunting melody. They encapsulate deep-seated fears that linger in the shadows of our everyday lives, fears that bind us as a society. You see, in Japan, folklore is not just folklore. It is a mirror reflecting our societal issues, a way for us to come to terms with the unknown. When I think of Hanakosan, hiding behind the stall in a dimly lit school bathroom, I cannot help but feel that she embodies the anxieties we faced as children. The terror of being alone, the crippling uncertainty of what lurks in the corners of familiar spaces. That is a fear we all share. These stories bring back memories of countless recess hours, spent whispering about the ghost in our school, huddled in groups with wide eyes. They remind us that the bravest moments can emerge from confronting our fears. And let me tell you, that thin veil separating the living from the supernatural is not as thick as we like to believe. Whether it is the unsettling echo of footsteps in an empty hallway or the chilling whispers of a ghostly encounter, these experiences tether us to something much larger than ourselves. In essence, tales like these remind us we are never truly alone in our fears. They linger in the air, waiting to meet our gaze.
The shadow of Hanakosan lingers, whispering secrets only the brave dare to uncover. Do you have chills running down your spine? Join our community of thrill seekers by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. Remember, even in the most familiar places, darkness may be waiting to unearth your deepest fears. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the eerie tales of Japan. Don't forget to check out our next video for more spine-tingling stories. Stay curious, stay cautious, and until next time, keep the lights on.